Hello everybody, this is Monty with Flowers by the Bunch. Today I am working on a stone topper for the cemetery. What I like to do is I like to make all of my flowers first, put all my flowers together in a styrofoam piece, and then attach it to my clamp that goes on top of the stone. I'm starting out with about 1/3 of a piece of foam, and actually I may cut that down just a little bit because I'm thinking it's going to look fuller if I do so. So this is just hard styrofoam. Honestly, I ordered the wrong thing this time. This is, I want to say that's 2.5 inches, and I really don't need it this wide. I really need it more of a 1-inch piece of foam. So I made a little bit of a mistake, but that's okay. We learn from our mistakes and we're good to go, right? So I'm going to take my floral knife, and I am scoring this piece of styrofoam just like this. I'm going to take it, set it on the edge, and this is going to be loud, so it's a warning. I'm going to just pop this styrofoam. So I'm going to hold that on the edge about where I've scored it, so it's right on the edge, and I just popped it so it broke. Instead of trying to saw through it, it's hard. If you'll just score that foam and then pop it on the edge, it usually will break. And actually that broke perfectly, so that was luck. Okay, next what I'm gonna do, so I have, this is about the size of a regular piece of fresh floral foam. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some artificial or silk leather leaf. This comes in a bundle of 12 stems per bundle. I'm gonna take my handy dandy cobalt wire snips, and this has some extra wire on the ends that, for me personally, it's just too much to dip it in the glue and try to stick it deep. So I'm just going to take my snips and I'm going to remove that little extra piece on those pieces of greenery. Okay. So I just removed the extra little piece of stem. I'm going to throw those away. Next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to set my flowers over here to the side. I'm going to take my pieces of greenery, and I have my hot glue pan. Now, if you've watched me any amount of time, you know that I really, when working with artificial flowers, I like to use a glue pan. I find that it's just easier, it's faster, more efficient. I'm going to take my stem and I'm going to dip it right down into that glue pan. Now, this is not a florist grade glue pan. This is actually a frying pan that you can buy just at any big box store. I think this one came from Walmart. It's just a countertop frying pan. And what I like to do is add glue pellets or hot glue to this pan, and I turn it on 150 degrees. Now, all pans are different, and so you may have to kind of play with the temperature. I like for the glue to be about the consistency of honey, and that's the perfect temperature. So you might have to play with it. The reason we use such a large pan is often a couple of the designers will be in the back room using it at the same time. It's just easier. It holds more glue. You don't run out as often. We just find it easier. Now, there are craft glue pans that you can pick up at any craft store or even on Amazon, and they'll ship it right over to you. They work perfectly, so don't hesitate to get one of those if you don't need one so large. I'm taking my stem that I trimmed, I'm dipping it into that glue, and I'm kind of wiping the excess on the edge. I'm sticking that right down into that foam, and I'm kind of bending that little piece of greenery down. So I'm going all the way around, and I'm just bending that down. So I'm going to cover this entire piece of styrofoam with this greenery. So it reminds you a lot of a casket piece, except it's a good bit smaller, but it gives you the same shape as a casket piece. So I'm just taking each piece of greenery, dipping it in that glue and sticking it into that foam, and I'm bending it down. So see how it's kind of bent down? Next, I'm going to take my few pieces. I think I have 4 pieces left. I'm going to dip those into my glue, and I'm going to run them across the top of this foam, bending them over, kind of giving it just a little bit of a bend. Okay, and then I'm going to turn it around. All right, so there is our base for our stone topper, okay? I'm gonna lay that on the table. I have picked out several flowers that we're going to use. This stone topper is for a lady. And so I picked out some lady colors that would work great through the winter and into the spring. Some yellows, it has a little bit of hot pink in there, some green, and a little bit of lavender and purple. So I'm gonna start out with my larger flowers. I'm just setting these over here to the side. I like to start out with a hydrangea. So I'm going to start out with 5 stems of hydrangeas. For me, I like to cut all of my flowers off of the bush. So these all came in like a bush, like this rose bush, but it was a mixed bush. So see how that's kind of this one just has roses on it, but the flowers came on a mixed bush done just like this. So I take my wire snips and I cut off the individual blooms. I like to separate them into types because that way I can get the flower dispersed evenly in the arrangement. So I'm going to take my wire snips, I'm going to trim up that stem as need be. I'm going to take my stem, dip it in the glue. So I'm starting out with these pretty little green hydrangeas. And I am just going to distribute them. That's a hard word to say. I'm going to evenly place them in this arrangement. So I have 1, 2, 3. 4. And 5. Okay, so there's my 5 stems of hydrangeas. Next we will come in with our purple, and these are purple peonies. Okay, peonies don't come this beautiful purple color. This is an artificial arrangement for the cemetery, so it's okay if they're not true to color or true to real life. But it's a really pretty stem. It's got a pretty bold color, which I really like. I'm going to snip that stem. There are 5 stems of these, so I'm going to snip that stem, and I'm going to evenly place them in this arrangement. Now, when making one of these arrangements for the flower shop, of course, we have to figure up money and how much each stem costs and all the things. And so what I have done is I've laid out all of my product and figured out how many flowers can go into this arrangement for this amount of money. It's always important when working in your flower shop that you give your customer full value. It's pretty and it's nice, but you don't need to give them more than what they've paid for. So it's always very important that you make sure when you're counting that you count correctly, because you want it to be right, okay? So instead of using 5 stems, I only used 4. So I'm going to be able to put a different flower in there. So I've got my purple, which is really very pretty. I love that pretty purple. Next, we're going to come in with some yellow lilies. here are my yellow lilies, so we're gonna add those into this arrangement. Now this customer asked that we not use ribbon, so we're not gonna add ribbon to this arrangement. Most often I do add ribbon to cemetery arrangements. I like to add ribbon because it fills it up, honestly. Ribbon always gives you a little bit more fullness. But if you don't want ribbon, that's completely okay. All right, so we only have a few more dollars left to add to this arrangement. And so I'm going to add some $1 stems of daisies. So I've got these pretty little hot pink daisies. And so I'm gonna add 4 stems, I'm gonna add all 5 stems into this arrangement. And our money will be right. So I'm gonna take and just cut those stems. And I'm just going to tuck them throughout. I like this little pop of hot pink. It just gives it a little something. So this arrangement is a $50 stone topper. So when you do a $50 stone topper, you've got to remember that the flowers are not necessarily all the money that goes into this arrangement. When you're making this arrangement for a client or a customer, you have to remember that everything that I'm using in this arrangement costs money. So what I mean by that is the foam, that has to go into the cost of the arrangement. The greenery goes into the cost. Then the flowers, and also the piece that clamps down onto the stone itself, that costs money. And so when it's $50, it's not really $50 just in flowers. Everything counts, okay? So you always have to think about that too. So there's our flowers. Give me 1 second and we will add the actual clamp onto this arrangement, and I'll show you how I like to put that on. Okay, so this is the stone rack, or the piece that actually fits down on the stone and holds the flowers onto the stone. And I'm going to show you how I like to attach that stone. So these are those wires that I cut off of the greenery, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to use those to attach this clamp to this flower arrangement. So I like to turn the flower arrangement over, and here is my foam. You can see where I kind of glued in. See how the glue kind of dripped? That's completely okay. Nobody's going to see that, okay? I'm going to take my my wire rack and I'm going to press it right down onto that styrofoam, so it's going to fit right down onto that styrofoam. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a U shape out of this wire. So I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to bend that into a little U shape. I don't know if you can see that, but I've bent it into a little U shape. And I'm going to do that with about 5 pieces. I'm just bending them. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these little U shapes and I'm dipping them right down into that glue, and I'm going to press them right over that wire rack. Dip it in the glue and press it right in. Now you're going to do that with as many of these little hooks as you have. All right, so I pressed them all in. Now that is attached. And this will be placed on top of a stone at the cemetery. Guys, I hope that helps. If you have any questions about how we put things together, how we calculate our money, how we figure out how to do it, and we can make money off an arrangement, it's always important. Those are all things that are very important in the flower shop. Guys, thank you so much for being here. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, that's it.